What's up, my brothers and my sisters from another mister? Today we're going to talk about the full story and brutal, violent breakdown of Spawn versus Overkill and the story behind it. Brought to you by Rated Comics. Before we get into the content, link in description if you wish to add any of these comic books and or other comic books and or some Rated Comic exclusives to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more comic book reviews and comic book related content like this. Not to mention, timestamps will be in the description if you wish to go from issue to issue, but this is Spawn issue 6 and 7, the full story, and the brutal, violent story behind Spawn and Overkill duking it out. But with all that being said, get your popcorn ready and let's get into the content. We begin this issue in Sicily. Overkill takes down a building for the Mafia. The message is clear: you mess with the Mafia and they'll mess with you. The military has been called, but there's nothing much they can do. A multinational firm had refused to cooperate on all levels, so the crime cartel decided to do some leveling on its own. That leveling came in the form of Overkill. The reason why he was given that name was because of his tendency to go beyond the necessary means. He quickly dispatches the men after taking several rounds of bullets and explosive damage. He leaves virtually unscathed. To the Mafia, this is a perfect employee that does the job with enthusiasm, service with a smile. Even when the military tries to take out Overkill with a full-on tank, he leaps high into the air and comes crashing down with everything he has. It's reasons like this why the Mafia is able to hold on to power for so long. In this panel right here, Freddy, a hobo, gives up Spawn's location in exchange for drugs. 10 ounces of powder by 8 p.m. the next day is what Freddy wants. Once he reveals that Spawn stays on 42nd and 6th Street when he's there, but moves around a lot, the mobsters kill him before completing their end of the bargain. So now the mobsters report back to their boss, Tony Twist. In his office, he tells the guys that there's got to be more to this mystery man, referring to Spawn, than that meets the eye. Anyone who could rip hearts out of humans shouldn't be taken lightly. He wants Spawn to suffer before he's killed. Then his last request: bring me his heart. Meanwhile, in the alley, several homeless people offer comfort to Spawn. They invite him to sit next to them and share his story. They don't want Spawn to be afraid of them, as he always sits aloof. Spawn then tells them his story, his backstory with Wanda and Cyan. And I'll sum it up for you rather quickly if you guys watch Spawn Beginnings issues number 1 through 5. If not, I'll be sure to put the playlist at the end of this video. The location is Queens, New York, and the story is about a mother, a father, and a baby. The mother is Wanda Blake, Spawn's wife, and she believed Al to be dead for 5 years. Now she's remarried with a beautiful daughter named Cyan, who's 15 months old. Her new husband is Terry Fitzgerald, a good father and a caring spouse, and the best friend to Al Simmons, which makes the situation more tragic. Why? Should Al intrude or leave Wanda to live her new life in peace? Neither choice will bring her happiness to all involved. Until Spawn reaches a decision, he will be haunted by this no-win situation that's slowly tearing him apart. And by the way, if you're liking the content we're throwing up, you know what to do. Don't be shy, don't be stingy. Like and subscribe to Rated Comics YouTube channel. Here on Rated Comics, we do awesome comic book reviews, comic book related content with the occasional comic book giveaway. Not to mention, feel free to check out the playlist at the end of this video if you wish to catch up on all the Spawn content as you try to cover all the Spawn issues. So far, we've covered issues 1 through 6 and issue 296 through the current run so far. Lastly, check out RatedComics.com for some amazing comics to add to your comic book collection. Not to mention, we have some really cool Rated Comics exclusives as well. With all that being said, let's get back into the content. When the two mobsters start wasting random bums looking for Spawn, Al shows up and takes out one of the mobsters. He demands to know who's after him and why. After Spawn gets his answer, he takes him out too. At a meeting with the mobsters, Gavino recommends Overkill to take out Spawn. Word spreads quickly that the mob requests a meeting with the person responsible for the deaths of the 7 leaders, courtesy of the Violator, of course, but Spawn is the one to answer the call. Because he has to be, because they think it's him. Now, added to that request is another homeless victim. He's not happy that all the street people are under threat by implied association. When he arrives, Spawn asks that they now show themselves, if they dare. Out come Overkill. They size one another up. They get some name calling out the way. You know, boys gotta be boys before the boys throw down kind of thing. But someone has to make the first move. In this case, it's Overkill. He was gonna kill Spawn quickly, but why? In his opinion, there's no point in hurrying the two square off. While Overkill easily overpowers him, Spawn does trick him into messing up his robot hand before rendered near death. Spawn refuses to use his powers to spare them as long as possible so that he can continue to live on Earth and ask questions about his past and get those answers too. Overkill continues to taunt Spawn some more, wanting to see evidence of him having the power to rip men's hearts out. He wants his trip to America to be worth it. Overkill walks away, unaware that Spawn is still alive after pounding him into submission. Spawn heals himself with necroplasm and heads to a warehouse on an army base to pick up guns and ballistics. To preserve his power and avoid second death, he's going to use the skills he already has as a former mercenary. Now equipped with the knowledge of fighting the half-breed cyborg, he's ready for round 2. And that's where we end this issue of Spawn, issue number 6. Hey, I'm definitely enjoying going back old school with the Spawn comic books. And by the way, link in description if you wish to add this comic book to your comic book collection and or any other comic books or Rated Comics exclusives to your comic book collection as well. After Spawn's first round battle against Overkill, he avoided using his powers during his battle to avoid his second death, which was explained in issue number 4. He suffered 2 cracked ribs and a broken arm. He had to use his necroplasm energy to fix that. As a former government-paid assassin, he was privy to locations where secret warehouses had guns and ballistics. Now, he's feeling comfortable and ready for round 2. Spawn hurries his scavenger mission as US troops burst into the room. Though he's primed for action and he can deal with them, rather than fight them, he teleports away to save their lives and to conserve his power. Though this is Spawn's first time teleporting, we all remember our first time, right? Mine wasn't until college, but anyways, that's probably TMI for some of you. His molecules are ripped apart one by one, then together with the existing molecule structures present. Then he's reassembled as fiercely as they were separated, reappearing in the alleyway. A drunk bum helps him and offers him alcohol. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But because he's drunk, when the bum takes off Spawn's mask, he's not too surprised by Al's look at all. He says they gave up judging people on the surface long ago. Spawn realizes they accept him and don't care about his outside appearance. Spawn cries out and experiences a flashback. He can't recall his killer's face, but is given hints. A piece of his forgotten past is trying to tie together the final clues of his death. He keeps seeing pictures of the Grim Reaper in his mind. The Grim Reaper tells him it was a pleasure killing him, and he would have done it even if he wasn't paid for it. Snapping back to reality, there goes gravity. Anyways, he runs from the alleyway. In this panel right here, Tony Twist asks who Overkill will work for if Bartino dies. Bartino is Overkill's employer. Overkill tells Tony Twist that he will not leave until he is 100%. It won't do his reputation any good if he goes back home less than perfect. Twist agrees to cover the repairs of his arm. In Queens, New York, Wanda Blake wakes up screaming, "Stop! Don't kill him!" During the last few weeks, she can't stop thinking about Al's tortured soul. She now believes Al was murdered by someone instead of him dying in action. Terry comforts her and tells her that he'll check Al's files again. And that's because she was playing that Al was murdered and didn't die in action. Spawn decides to take on the Mafia. The way he sees it, his existence puts all these guys in the alleyway in danger. Since someone wants Spawn dead and they're willing to carve a blood bath of a path to do so, plus this homeless person's lack of judgment when he sees Al's disfigured face gives Al something more to fight for than just Wanda. He has his ways and he wants to even the score. He takes off the cape as it will only get in the way. Unknown to him, the cape follows him as he walks away. In this panel right here, Wanda is curious about when Al visited her in disguise. This is a reference to issue number 3. When she checks at the local pound, she learns that no man matching her description of the man that works there. She begins pondering if Terry is in trouble and if the man was spying on him just out of the blue. All this thinking that Wanda's doing with the white guy from issue number 3, even though that was Al and Terry in the dream, is just driving Wanda crazy, so to speak. At night, the perfect time for Spawn to do his work. He breaks into a high-rise mob building where he threatens Twist himself. He tells her to deliver a message to Overkill to meet him in battle at the nearby pier. Business isn't finished yet and we hungry. Overkill shows up at the pier and he's ready for round 2. So is Spawn. Hey hero, seems I screwed up. Should have ripped your freaking head off to make sure you was dead. I intend to correct my oversight. Thanks for the invite. Shall we play? Gladly, says Spawn, and Spawn leaps to safety, goes nowhere as Overkill darts at him. Now Spawn doesn't realize that he'd forgotten about his loose hanging chains as Overkill grabs onto him. It felt so natural for him to hold a gun again that he half forgot his new situation. He can regret that at his leisure, so as of right now he has to grab onto some flying piece of debris and improvise and puts that in his eyes. Even though at this moment Spawn gained the advantage, there's no reason to celebrate though. Wounding a machine only leaves you with an angry machine. It must be terminated. And Overkill is pissed. You scarred me. For a second time, I can't have that. And he blasts off. But you want to be scarred? Says Spawn. I'll show you hell in the flesh. Take a good look. I'm patient. And this doesn't really faze Overkill. He just tells you look like crap. You know, the smelly, oozy kind. Now, I'm gonna stomp on you so I can scrape you off my boot, you piece of shit. And guess what? Even though he didn't say the S word, I did for dramatic reasons. Spawn blasts off on him and he takes that ballistic machine from the warehouse and puts it to work. And that just leaves Overkill looking like a skeleton piece of debris at that point. And Spawn tells him, so who's laughing now? I fought your kind before. This is where the fun comes in. And he just goes to work and pretty much demoralizes Overkill at this point. With all the noise that's been made, he knows the authorities will be called and he needs to leave. But not before he takes a moment to revel in his handiwork, and not before he sets the timer of the electromagnetic bomb, and that should take care of Overkill for good. At least so he thinks. As he slips away into the night, he thinks about his home in the alley and how he'll curl up behind some rusty dumpster for a well-deserved night's sleep, a long, comfortable night's sleep. And that's where we end this issue of Spawn, issue number 7. I'm enjoying these Spawn classics right here, going back old school. What you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know. And also, if you like the content we're throwing up, you know what to do. Don't be shy, don't be stingy. Like the video, subscribe to this channel. Here at Rated Comics, we do awesome comic book reviews, comic book related content with the occasional comic book giveaway. Thank you again for watching. Until next time.